Hey guys, it's Jess. So I am sitting here and I am super excited because I have something really amazing happening tonight and I wanted to share with you and ask you for your support in helping this just be what I think could be really life-changing. And hey, Hadass, thanks for jumping on. So I have been working with children with autism for the past 12 years. And when I first started working with kids with autism, there was this idea that children with autism could recover. The idea that if kids got 40 hours of intensive ABA treatment per week, that they would do well and that they would go on to live happy and successful lives. But here's the thing, when I first started working with kids with autism, that was in 2008, which means that adults with autism at that time would have been born in 1990. So here's the thing, in 1990, only 1 out of 10,000 people had autism. So essentially, there was really no community of adults with autism when I first started working with kids. And everyone was embracing this idea, autism can recover. And you have parents that are devastated because the reality is that no one knew what would be the future of all these children who are being diagnosed with autism. All of a sudden now, autism went to 1 in 150, and then it was 1 in 100, and then it was 1 in 70, and now it's 1 in 56, and everyone really didn't know what's going to happen to these kids when they grew up. Yes, there were studies that showed 40% of kids were going to be able to go to kindergarten. They were going to start kindergarten without supports of a special aid. Well, that was what was going to be considered recovering from autism. But were children with autism going to grow up to adults with autism that went to school? Were they going to be able to have jobs? Were they going to be able to work? Really, nobody knew. And there was no adult community with autism to look to and to turn to. And so fast forward today, Facebook is around. Autism, now all the kids that were diagnosed with autism in the early 2000s, they're all adults today. And Facebook has unified that community of adults with autism. And a lot of them look back at the therapies that they got as children, and they're really against them. In fact, they're really against some of the things that I did. And if you look at ABA, people who go into helping kids with autism, we had really good intentions and our hearts were really good. We thought we were doing the right thing. But today there's a really big divide in the autism community between adults with autism who are rejecting professionals and looking back and saying, why are you trying to force us to be someone we're not? Why can't you just accept us for who we are? Why can't you just accept the fact that we like to flap our hands or we have different interests than you? And the truth is that there's this huge gap between people who want to recover kids from autism and people who want to be accepted for who they are. And most professionals are just ignoring these adults with autism who are saying, we didn't like the way these therapies were. We didn't like what you did to us. And the truth is that a lot of the autism treatments, they have a really dark history. Today we don't do the things we did, but ABA, the first treatment for autism was really developed by Dr. Lovas in 1987. The idea that if you punish behaviors you don't want to see and you reward behaviors you do want to see, you'll start to get more behaviors you want to see and less behaviors you don't want to see. But a lot of the therapies were really traumatic that kids received. Kids it even went to the extent in 1987 where kids were getting electric shocks. They were in the first camp, right? They got these really bad therapies. Well, most people aren't doing that today. The world has really changed. That even the things that I did when I first started working with kids with autism, I've had some of the best training, but my training came from the person who was one of the original people who implemented that first study. So everything was done repetitively. You had to ask a kid, what's your name 10 times so you can get to that 10 trials and get your data. And it didn't really make any sense. And children were being forced to do things. They were frustrated. We used what was called manual prompting. We said that we were, helping children to engage in correct responses by helping them, guide them hand over hand. The truth is that we were physically forcing kids to do things we wanted them to do. And no one's really talking about it. No one's really talking about the fact that adults with autism are looking back at what happened to them and saying, we don't like it. Well, the truth is that children with autism learn differently than children who don't have autism, than neurotypical people. And so are people with autism, they tend to learn differently. And so there is a way that we can help them to learn. And it's rooted in the principles of behavior, the same type of science, but it doesn't have to look like it did in 1987. And most professionals with autism, they're just disregarding these adults with autism who are giving feedback saying this worked and this didn't work. I do truly believe that everyone deserves to reach their fullest potential. It's my mission in my company that I want everyone to maximize their potential, and I want everyone to be the best possible version of themselves. And for kids that are diagnosed with autism, that's going to mean that teachers have to teach in a different way, because people with autism, they tend to not learn from their environment. They tend instead to learn by being taught skills directly. But I'm also committed to making sure that I'm not doing it in a way that causes someone trauma, and that when someone looks back at the therapy I gave them as adults, they're not going to be saying, why did you try to change me and why couldn't you just accept me? So, I really was thinking and praying about, well, what can we do? What can we do about the fact that these adults with autism are saying, just accept us, and that these teachers and parents are desperate for help and desperate for answers and want to help their children live to their fullest potential. And they're saying, hey, please help my child recover. And you can't tell the mother whose 5-year-old is banging their head on the floor, well, autism is not something to be cured, or autism is not something to be recovered. Yes, we're going to treat behaviors. We're going to treat children, we're going to treat symptoms the same way we would of anything else, but we're also going to respect who a person is. We're going to respect their integrity, and I'm going to take a stand and be the first one in my field to say, it's not okay to physically force a child to do something you don't want to do. And just looking at this week alone, we see that, meaning teachers who were well-intended, unfortunately, a child was restrained and he died as a result. And it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And there's no reason a child needs to be sitting at a table and, being trained like animals. And people say, well, ABA therapy, you're training children like you are dogs. And that's really true for how most of the time people implement ABA. And that's true for most autism treatments, but it doesn't have to be true. There's a way in which I believe as professionals, we can hold people to their highest standard, and we can teach them in a way that they can learn, but respect who they are as people. And in order to help bridge that gap between what really autism treatment looked like, what it should look like, I'm partnering with adults with autism. And the first time anyone's ever doing this, as a professional, I'm going to be interviewing and starting a show. It's called Bridge the Gap. I already have a few episodes recorded, and let me tell you, they're just amazing. I just started recording the show in the last couple weeks. I will never, ever implement my treatment the same. I've learned so much, and I've been so humbled in just the past 2 weeks speaking to adults with autism and asking them, how do you want to be treated? How do you want to be taught? And it's time that, like, professionals listen. There doesn't have to be a gap in the autism community. There doesn't have to be this division of acceptance and recovery if autism professionals just listened. And I think that this show is not only for autism professionals, but it's for the entire world to see, and the entire world to listen, to finally say, listen to what people have to say. And I said, one of the people in the show, and my show is premiering tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's why I'm doing this Facebook Live. I want to let you know about it. It's going to be going on every Sunday at 9 p.m. I interviewed someone named Ryan Schindler, and he said, I am so freaking tired of people telling me I'm an inspiration because I have autism. He's like, and I went to college. He's like, I'm just living my life. And how true is that? And and there's so many people who I've spoken to now. I've done a bunch of interviews. I can't wait for you guys to hear these interviews, because the reality is that I don't think anyone is ever going to look at people that are living with autism or any sort of learning difference or struggle again, the same way. And I want everyone to hear this, because it's time as a society we stopped making everyone conform to a certain way that we believe to be true. And it's time, I think, that teachers realize that there's a way to help kids, there's a way to help people and make sure that they reach their fullest potential without making them to someone they're not. And I'm so excited to share this with you. I think this show, I truly believe it's going to have a massive impact, not only in my life, and it has already for me, but also just in how everyone with autism is treated. It's my goal that the generation of children who are being diagnosed with autism today will not grow up, look back at their therapies and say, why did you do that? They're going to say, thank you. So that's my goal. I really just want everyone, if you're on this show, please watch this show tonight. Again, it's going to be airing at 9 p.m. time. It's going to be put on YouTube. It's going to be premiering it. I'm going to have a watch party. We can watch it together right on my Facebook page. You know, if you, or Facebook profile, if you are watching this in the recording, if you're watching this on YouTube, parenttrainingvideos.com, that's the name of my YouTube channel. You can go on that, subscribe, and every week you're going to be so inspired by these people, and who really, and not only inspired, right? That's what someone said, is don't look at me as an inspiration. I'm just a person. I'm just like you. You know, I look honestly back, and if an adult did to me what I used to do to children when I was teaching them, I probably would have hit them, right? The reality of it is that we have to stop looking at people with disabilities or people that are different than us as less than human, because that's the truth. Is in order to actually treat someone differently, we have to dehumanize them. And it's time, I think, as a society, we came together and just accepted and loved everyone for who they are and who they choose to be. So I'm so excited about the premiere of my show tonight. I just absolutely believe it's going to have an impact on the entire way in which autism treatment is done, not only in the US, but internationally. So parenttrainingvideos.com. You can come onto my watch party at 9 p.m. Subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be a show every week. It's just amazing. Some of the people who I brought on this show are just incredible, incredible people who are just doing incredible things and have such a value to share with you. So please join that, share this, tell everybody you know. If you know anyone who has a child with any learning differences, any teachers, you know, doctors, anyone who's a librarian, anyone who's a police officer or firefighter, it's time people learned and listened. You know, I can teach you about autism theoretically, and I can teach you about behavior, but I'm a teacher. There's no better way to learn about autism than directly from people who have autism. So thank you guys so much for listening to this. I really appreciate it. I really hope that you're going to love this show. It's premiering 9 p.m. tonight. Go to my YouTube channel, parenttrainingvideos.com, so you can never miss an episode. It's really going to be amazing. So thanks, guys. Stay tuned, and thanks for everyone for listening in.